joining us right now. He's become a legendary broadcaster along with legendary pitcher. And an author, the great Ronnie Darling. Ron, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on.
How many years have you been broadcasting the Mets?
This is my 19th year with the Mets. I did 1 year in Washington, so that's 20 total doing analysts.
Yeah, you're at legendary status.
All right. I mean, you hang on for it that long, you become legendary. How much longer from playing was it?
Oh, yeah. I played, 15 years or so.
4 years,
more
4
than
years
that.
or so.
I've been with the Mets now. I was with them in 81 when I was traded, 82 when I was traded over. Left in 91, I was traded. So 10, 19,
Right, so you've been a part of the game for a really long time. How has it changed for pitchers in particular since when you left?
The whole game for pitchers has changed. Third time through the order. God forbid you let the guy go third time through the order. 100 pitch count is universal. That never was the case when I pitched. The only way you got paid in those days was to pitch a lot of innings, start a lot of games, and they'd go, boy, he's really dependable.
Right.
And that was important. And now it is how good are you when you have the ball? And even if it's 20 as opposed to 30 times, if those 20 times are great, that's the way to get paid.
Well, it's funny. It makes me think of last night. So last night, David Peterson was fine, right? He gets into a bases loaded, nobody out jam. He gets out of it. He gets taken out in the fifth inning with one out. And he gets this huge ovation. And I turned to my dad, and I said, I got to tell you, I can't give a standing ovation of 4 1/3. And he's like, I'm with you. I mean, as a former starter, 4 1/3 would be considered a failure.
I don't look. You're right, 100%. But I don't look at it like that anymore. Like each generation has a way to define their own game.
Right.
And they want to play the game they want to, they'll play it the way they want to play it. So I don't look at it that way. I think they were really cheering because he got out of the bases loaded in the first inning.
Yes.
That's probably why they were cheering.
Right. It's the same with hitters, right? I mean, hitting for average doesn't necessarily matter anymore.
It's just all defined. Like I'm told all the time by people that analyze this game, or analysts, people that get information, the win doesn't really count. Well, it counts when you're a pitcher in the day. So
look who's joining you, Ron. Look what's behind you. Mr. Met.
All right.
What's up, Mrs. Met? By the way, Mr. Met, I got a big question for you. Is the grimace thing bothering you? Is it taking away your shine, or are you good with grimace?
No. Thank
you.
you,
Good with grimace?
Mrs. Met.
All right, good. It's all love. Good job, Mr. Met. Oh, thank you. Mr. Met brought tea and water.
I have two of them.
Nice.
I got a Mr. and Mrs. Met water. This is amazing.
Very nice. Bobblehead, the whole thing.
Appreciate it. My son loves you. Big fan. Yeah, I'll drink it. I'm going to drink it right now.
Is this like alcoholic water? I don't know. He's encouraging us to drink. I don't know.
He says we need to be refreshed.
We
I
are at the
appreciate
Cadillac Club, so.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Met.
Mr. and Mrs.
Appreciate
Met look a little bit like rosé all day, don't you think?
They do, right?
Yeah, especially Mrs. Met. You're definitely a rosé all day gal.
Right. There are Mr. and Mrs. Met, ladies and gentlemen. I feel very good. I feel very good they like grimace, because I was concerned that there was going to be a rivalry. No, I'm good. Glad things are good.
Don't let grimace steal your shine, Mr. Met.
Are you baseball is a funny game, and a lot of weird stuff can happen.
That's right.
And the Washington Nationals of 2019 is a great lesson. I think they were 19-30. Boom, they get hot. They make the playoffs. They win a championship. But as you're sitting here watching this Met team through May, one of the worst months you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Did you ever think this could happen?
Well, you knew they had it in them. They have some good players. And you couldn't really understand what they were going through in May, because it wasn't just one or two people. Mm-hmm. It was a whole team-wide kind of epidemic. So you knew at some point they were going to come out of it. But to go from maybe one of the worst months any team has had this season in May to the best team in baseball right now as far as record is concerned is quite a turnaround. But it tells you how the game is. There are more teams that are alike than teams that are not.
Yes.
And there's probably, a half dozen really unbelievable teams,
right.
And everyone else is really fighting for a spot.
True, and there's 3 or 4 really, really bad teams that are likely out of it, but everybody else is kind of in the mix. The Subway Series is obviously what we're here for. It's a huge deal, only because, well, at least this year, because the Mets can pull to 500, right? And I think against the Yankees in this town, it becomes even a bigger deal if they should sweep the Yankees in this Subway Series. How important is this, one, because of that, but also just the continuation of this excellence?
Yeah, I think I look at it always as a 4-game series because they play, a month from now, a couple at Yankee Stadium. But I think what you're looking at right now is a Yankee team that's a little depleted. They are so top-heavy. Volpe and Soto and Judge, you don't get any better than that, and they showed you last night what they can do. But the Mets right now are playing their best baseball, and the Yankees are challenged really for the first time because they've been great all summer long. So the Mets are catching them in a good time, but a month from now, you know how baseball is, it could be different.
What have you seen? Because I think one of the big keys to the success this year has been Luis Severino. He's been their best starting pitcher. He may be an all-star. Yankee fans are listening and saying, what happened? Because last year when he was healthy, but he was healthy and he was throwing batting practice.
I think his mind wasn't healthy.
Maybe.
I think you could hear it. He was doubting himself.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. I stink, blah, 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 blah. He needed a mental break.
Do you think that's it, Ron? Or are you seeing something different that's working for Severino?
First the mental part. I think Tiki's right. There's every athlete goes through it. When you lose your confidence, it doesn't matter if you're healthy. It doesn't matter what your stuff is. It doesn't matter if your legs feel great.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're hitting the right holes. If you don't have the confidence, then it's really hard for you to excel the way you can. Now, physically, what he's done this year, to me, he's pitched more to contact.
Right.
He's a guy, when he first came up, you were anticipating him striking out in double digits every night. Doesn't really care about that anymore. And the two-seam pitch, the sinking fastball that is back in play now because pitchers are trying to last a little longer, has given him a lot of room because he is forcing right-handers to cover both sides of the plate, the inside fastball and the slider away.
Right.
And once you do that to any hitter, I don't care how good they are, they got to cover that much space, almost impossible to excel.
We are talking to Ron Darling. Mets get set for this big Yankee series. One guy I'm excited to see again is Christian Scott. They got to call him up in a week. I assume they will. I know they're trying to manage his innings.
Yeah.
What did you see from Christian Scott in the limited time he was here?
I think more of the insides than the outsides. The physical gifts are there. 97 plus with a sweeper and a slider, the split finger changeup. Those are all good enough to be an excellent starter at this level. But the insides that you see from him when things didn't go well, he had a start where he did not have his great stuff. He went 5 innings, gave up a run. Those are the things you judge. Sports are beautiful in this way. You never judge an athlete when they're at the top of their game because things come so easy. When things aren't easy, who are the guys that kind of man up during that time? And I saw a lot of that from him.
Yeah, an interesting one in that regard is Tyler McGill because there's been points where he's felt really good. This is a back-end starter. He's reliable. You can count on him. But then there's other ones where it's like, all right, he's playing to the back of his baseball card. I don't mean that in a good way. It's a 4.78 ERA, and his whip's at 1.4 or 5 or something like that. For a guy like that who's probably in these conversations of, are you going to send them down to bring some more depth up, to bring some of these young guys, how does he stay current and stay doing his job the way that he's supposed to be doing his job?
That's a great question. Tiki, the margins of how to be successful at the major league level, at professional level in any sport is so finite. It's so close. And I believe this, for pitchers especially, there's no other job. Maybe a goalie in hockey, but there's no other job where you don't do your job well. The manager of the team comes and takes the ball away from you in front of 50,000 fans because you're not good enough to do it, and calls someone in to replace you, and mentally you got to be able to handle that.
Right.
So I always think for the young pitchers especially, and Tyler's in this mix, physically, does he have the gifts to excel here? 100%. But I found in my own career, and I find when I watch young pitchers, until you believe that your stuff is better than the people that are facing you for 2 hours, you'll never get to that place you want to go. And it's not kind of fake confidence, not like, I know I can do it. It's belief.
Right.
Like, I don't care who's coming up. If I execute my pitches, you're sitting down. And I think that leapfrog of that last little bridge is one of the longest jumps in the world for young pitchers.
You know, looking at the way this team has sparked and turned it around, there's a few young guys that have certainly contributed in a big way. We know about Mark Vientos and how much he's hit. But I thought last night, I made this point earlier to Tiki, that I thought Francisco Alvarez's at-bat in the first inning, which he drew a walk against Garrett Cole,
right,
in a lot of ways changed the entire game. And it seems like the pitchers love throwing to him. Like, it seems like Francisco Alvarez is such a crazy young
as a
game.
catcher, right.
As a catcher, really has it all right now.
Well, first, the offensive part of the game. If you watched last night, he fouled off some really tough pitches to stay in the at-bat, got a couple of walks. That's something you wouldn't see last season. So his pitch recognition, commanding the strike zone, has improved exponentially. I think that the hitting is going to come. It's going to come in a big way. He's not quite there yet, but he's 12 for his last 24? He might be on his way. As far as the catching is concerned, most of the time when a young catcher, is hit first, catch second, they remain that their entire career. And he put it on himself to become such a good catcher and such a leader. I don't know who taught him how to play, but that person should teach more people how to play, because he has a great feel, a great attitude, great instincts. And, I hate to throw this on him because I don't know him well enough, but what I see, he has amazing leadership qualities.
Yeah.
Very few players have that. He's got it.
Yeah, sometimes it's innate. You're not even necessarily trying to do it. There's some guys that are rah-rah guys, and they're yelling and screaming and they're in your face and they're motivating you. But there's other guys that, by example is the cliche, but that's not really what we're talking about here, because you see it in how he manages his IQ. Like last year we talked a lot about how he would recognize, all right, my pitcher needs a break, I'm going to go do a mound visit, right? Like these little things that rookies shouldn't be doing. And it's like innate. It's like he feels it.
I think he went to got his PhD with Scherzer and Verlander.
Right. That probably helped a lot.
You know how
I didn't even think about it
afraid
that
you'd
way.
be as a young catcher to have to catch these future Hall of Famers? And he fit in nicely, not perfect, fit in nicely. And to catch a pitching staff that's really a veteran pitching staff, and to have guys like Jose Quintana who've started 350 times in their career, just having love to pitch to this young man, I think says a lot about Jose Quintana, and it also says a lot about Alvy.
So watching this Met team, and by no stretch is their starting pitching their I guess their strong suit. They're going to win games because they have a really good lineup. Their defense is hopefully getting better, and they could have a good bullpen when Edwin Diaz is healthy. But put your National Baseball hat on for a second. I almost think the Mets' strategy is the right one. Let's just sign guys to one-year deals, because starting pitchers outside of very few guys, Garrett Cole, I know Corbin Burns will be a free agent. Outside of that, you can't trust any of them. Do you think in a weird way, even though, again, the Mets starting pitching isn't their strength, that the Met way of building their rotation this year may almost be the copycat around baseball of let's just get guys on one-year deals?
Well, I think what they did is they bet on guys that have had success, right? Severino, he's coming off a tough year, but he had like exquisite success. Minaya had some huge years, no-hitter pitcher, those kind of things. So they were betting on guys that had years and hoping those they return to that form. Quintana's been just one of those steady kind of Eddie guys that takes the ball, doesn't miss a start. So yeah, I'm with you. To be on any kind of 1 or 2 year contracts with all your pitchers is the best way to do it because of the breakdown of guys. But there's very few pitchers who you can look at and go, boy, he deserves a 10-year contract and this or that. It's become a very tenuous position.
But I think it's unique to the Mets. Maybe not. Maybe there's other teams that are in the same situation, but the reason the Mets can get away with it in a sense is because the farm system is good with Christian Scott and Vassell and some of these other guys that are down there. Eventually, you're going to replace them with the young kid.
Yes,
that proves themselves.
But what you're doing is you're not giving out long-term contracts.
Right. It's a bridge. Yeah. Like you're building just this little bridge. It's going to come down in a year or two, or maybe if they prove themselves, they'll be here for a long term. But it's just this little bridge to this amazing farm system. So the other part of the job, which is building your farm system, I think matters. That's the only way you can do that, right?
100%. And also the way they did it, to shift gears 180 degrees. Last year it was Scherzer and Verlander and giving them crazy money, right, for a couple of years. But then when that didn't work out, they pivoted and were able really to buy draft picks. That's what they did. And to fill their farm system. And then they have these guys, I think that I think there's an upside to the pitchers that they have on the roster right now. They've walked too many people. If they can be more efficient, I think you will see more 6-inning, 2-run kind of efforts. And if you have that with this lineup, I think you're on your way.
Well, you get to see Ronnie tonight, Mets Yankees, SNY on TV. You can obviously hear it on the radio as well. We appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
Ron,
Guys are the
man.
best,
Great
man.
to see you.